friends, and welcome back to today's podcast. We are excited to follow up on our last episode when we talked about taking an inventory of your goals, and we are going to talk about the Liv way, the design your life way of setting goals. We're excited to come to you from our individual spaces. I'm Deboni. We've got Krista, Jesi, and Tristen, and Tristen's going to give you just a little flavor of who is here today on this team.
This is my favorite part.
Is it your favorite? Because sometimes I'm just like not very businessy when I say like, hi, I'm Tristen, Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solo. And Jesi is the Cancer Thriver, life lover, and taxi cab driver. Krista, we've got team advocate, health and wellness advisor, and our team strategist. And then Deboni, Sacri, bump set spiker, hiring for an operations manager, high fitness instructor,
Thank you for the plug on the new hire. We are expanding, and we do need some help around here with our Liv Design Collective team. So we would love for you to give us a 5-star rating. You might want to wait until after the show. I mean, if you hear what Tristen has to say, you're just going to want to go 5 stars. I want to hear what she has to say every time. And we can guarantee that you can have a t-shirt by Christmas with her face on it.
No, B. Arthur.
We cannot wait. We are getting some fanning of this team. And we love it. So be sure to do that and share with your friends. So we're going to follow up today on goal setting. And really our goal at Liv Lifestyle Co is to design your life. And that's the difference. That's really where we differentiate ourselves in the design world, is that it's about designing your space. We have never been, the design firm that has our thumbprint and that we put that on everybody else. We love to design for you. And we feel that your lifestyle is no different. And so there's really not one way, as this team of, we're all very experienced goal setters. I feel like Krista maybe has dabbled more in it than maybe the rest of us. But we're all very goal oriented, and we've all tried different ways. And I would tell you that my way is very different than Tristen's, and probably very different than Tristen's way, and Krista's as well. So let's dive into that. So many of you were here with us on our last show. We talked about the areas of life that we each kind of have those roles or areas of our life, and that we really have to be careful that it's not more than 7 or so. Let's rattle those off really quick. One is, your spiritual practice and your mental care. Another would be your health. Your relationships with friends and family would be another one. Your love life, your relationships with your spouse or significant other. What have I missed? Your personal growth, your mission and work. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. Finance. Did I say finance yet?
I don't think
finance, most importantly, with the plug for Liv Design Collective, your environment, right? And so we invited you as our Liv tribe to go ahead and rate your perception of where you are and how happy you are in each of those areas of your life. I have done this. It is fascinating. I will share later if we decide. It is fascinating. Just one tidbit. Environment. I just was like, okay, yeah, I'm going through the thing and I'm like, environment. This is like, obviously from a Liv Design Collective perspective, very important to me more than most people. Like environment, I believe, is very essential to our overall wellness, but it's really important to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, my rating just very interesting. So we invited you to that. That's hopefully you've done that to this point. If you haven't, you can go back and listen to that episode, and you're going to rate those areas. And then I feel like I'm doing all the talking.
Do it.
So I'm going to let you start, Krista, and tell us what we're going to do next.
Well, I think, this is developed into a series, kind of a January series on goal setting. And so we want to make it fun and engaging, because everybody does goals every January, whether they kind of want to or not, because they're neighbors and friends. And, somebody said at some point you have to do goals in January. At Liv, we're really pretty passionate about a couple of things that you talked about. It's your life by design. It's not my life. It's not Jesi's life. It's not Tristen, it's your life. And so within that, it's really helpful if you know what your learning style is. And that's the first thing, is that you make it designed for you. Even your goal setting is your style. And then the other thing that we talked about in another previous episode of this series is that you can't just set it and forget it. This is not that. There are some things that we want to design that we can just set and forget. I have a lot of things like that in my life that I work really hard to create automation, where I just do it one time and I walk away. And there are some things I really only think about once a year, and I love that, or once a quarter, once a week. And if it comes at me at any other time, I'm really irritated, because I'm like, ooh, that's a broken design, or somebody wasn't following my instructions, or I failed to show up in the way that I said I was going to, or something. Like, that's an interruption to my day. Everything else should be in flow if I can set it, forget it. But goal setting is something where you have to design a check-in with yourself. And I know Jesi is just the queen of actually getting it done is Jesi. So I would actually love to hear some of Jesi's idea on this short podcast. But I think that's the big picture message, is that we're like, if drawing pictures is your thing, draw pictures. If making vision boards is your thing, I mean, I teach vision board workshops. I love vision boards. I'm not a super visual learner myself. Well, I'm about 50-50, but that's anyway. I'm certainly not as visual as everybody else on this podcast who are actually designers. And so, vision boards make sense, but mind mapping might make sense to you. We've done a lot in this podcast series on goal setting, talking about lists, and like, go to the blog and download the tools and juice up your roles. And we talked about that. And, there's a lot of lists, and that's usually what people do when they're talking about goal setting, is they sit down with a notebook and they force themselves to make some lists. But maybe lists are not your thing. If they're not, design something else for yourself to capture a map or a vision of the goals that you actually want to create. And then I just want Jesi to lead us, because I know Jesi knows how to just get it done.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. For some people, setting a goal might be that it should be one thing, right? That you know well, and that you should focus on that one thing. And we were laughing earlier that Jesi could probably set 77 goals in, 30-day period and just knock them all out. Cause that's just, Jesi is just like, yep, got it done. She's so good at that. And I'm going to let Jesi talk, because I know you said that Jesi should talk, but at Liv, a lot of the things that we talk about with our clients are just trying to narrow them down. A lot of times people hire us because it's just too many options. And so we don't want to get too far, unless you're Jesi, you don't want to get past 1, 2, 3, because after that, it just gets a little cluttered. There's a lot of mind clutter. So 3 is kind of the magical number. For you, that might be different though. So if you're Jesi, please do more goals, because you will kill it. What are your thoughts, Jesi?
I know what works for me are multiple ways. Like, on my fridge is my visual board. By my bed is where I write my goals down, and I write the same goals, and I pick 3 to 5 goals, and I write them down, and they're the same. And I write them down as if they've already happened. And so that's a big one. And then for work, I have my own notebook where I write all my work. So I am kind of a divided goal person, but that's the big one.
Compartmentalize the way that you do it with what works for each area.
Yeah, exactly. Because what I need for work is not the same way I need to accomplish things in my personal life, and then I love just being able to see things visually as well. And I like to have like areas where I can doodle or scribble or draw it out as well, because that helps the process in my mind with it. But that's the big thing is I'm writing the same goals. And if it takes me 5 years to achieve that goal, it has been written down every day the same way as is. So like a big one right now is in our own personal lives is paying off my husband's medical student loans. So I say that we are debt free, like that's it. And so when I go to make any type of purchases, that rolls in my head because I write it down every day. And then I'm like, oh, I actually could put this money towards being debt free. Yeah. So those are ways that the goals stick in my mind too.
Mm.
And that works for me.
I love it. So
I love that so much. I really love too. I don't want anybody to miss that Jesi said this really magical thing. And there's a little bit of contention. Some people don't like this. I love it. I think it's brilliant. She said two things really. By writing a goal every single day, she's activating the kind of the operating system of the brain. It's called the reticular activating system. And it's amazing. It's the thing that tells your brain to orient towards what you want it to. And it can be that she's doing a little bit of set it and forget it just by writing those all the time, so that it's like it pops up and goes, wait, you said you identify as someone who's debt free. The other thing that is super cool, and some people don't like to do this, they don't like to write a goal as though it has already been accomplished. I do. And I think most people who have really studied human development, self-development, they really are on the side of write it as though it has already happened, because actually your brain doesn't know the difference. And your brain, if you adopt it as an identity, it will feel, it's like the thermostat. You have, if you have thermostat wars at your house, one of you likes it 70 something and the other one likes it 70 other something. And there's this up, down, up, down. Well, you don't notice until it gets out of alignment with where you're comfortable. And so if you teach your mind and everybody around you, the next step is you could tell other people what it is you're trying to create. So I love that.
Awesome. Thank you. I love the routine, that goal setting and whatever your style, there needs to be some sort of routine or habit that you're creating. We're going to talk about habits on another episode, but creating a routine and something that's rewarding in that the way that maybe you do that while you eat your, something yummy for breakfast, that you're just writing those habits. So your mind is being rewarded while you're, writing those things down. I think that's great. And then the repetition of it. I love that.
So I'm going to offer super quick. I'm not a writer. I like a lot of digital tools. And so a lot of my goal setting stuff goes in between spreadsheets and Evernote. And there's a cute app that my teenager was showing me called Habitica. Find the stuff that works for you. I need it to be with me all the time. And I don't want my purse to be any heavier than it obviously is, because it's ridiculously heavy already. So I don't want 3 more journals, because Jesi also was like, I have this section for my business, and I have this section for my kids, and I have this section for my, my health goals and yada, yada. And I can't carry all that stuff with me. So if it can't be on my phone, it's not going to be useful at all, because being committed to having it in front of me all the time is far more important than having a place where I can sketch. But you decide, because it's whatever works for you. I know my daughter is all about everything has to be sketched and drawn, and that's what helps her to integrate that she's really serious about this.
Yeah, the pen to paper, and for some people they can do all digital. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that really resonated with me that we were talking about is once you set your goals, I like that when you do the inventory of your life, you're doing that rating system, and it's being very honest with yourself. And I like that you can do that same type of labeling with your goals, as far as, okay, I have these goals in my life. Why do I have these goals? Or what is holding me back from initially accomplishing them? To me, it just seemed very honest that you could label them like, well, I need more time to achieve this goal, or that I need more money or skills or the discipline. Like, I loved that as you were discussing that, Deboni, having those labels with it, because sometimes we're like, well, I wanted to go to the gym, but then I just didn't. Yeah, and we're not being honest as to why we're not accomplishing the goals. And I like that when you add those type of labels to it, it looks to me in a more raw way as to how am I going to accomplish this, or maybe what is holding me back.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll share, because that conversation was earlier, Jesi. Well, the team was really just talking about goal setting, and something that works for me and that I've been excited about. It really just started doing this a couple of years ago, and I feel like I've been fair at goal setting. But one thing that happens is we set a goal, and life's already busy and chaotic, and usually it's maybe, let's just use health for instance, that we want to get fit. It's January, and that's the goal. And in my life, I'm like, how would I fit something else in? Right now to just go, it's January, I should do a goal. Yeah, I probably do want to get a little healthier, right? That's definitely something that I want to consider. But really, like, how am I going to make that happen? Well, as you write your goals, whether that's 1 or 3 or 5, you're going to want to see what resources you need. And that's what Jesse was talking about. What are the reasons that this is not happening? What, maybe I've been setting this goal before, and why hasn't anything changed? What are the resources that I need to accomplish this goal? And I actually learned this from, I'm going to call her my friend, Shalene Johnson. She's a completely different human than me. And I love that about Liv, that it's about, who you are and who you represent. She is totally different than me, but I love her, and I just love her energy and her fake fingernails. And I'm like, that is so not me, but I love it for her. And she talks about the resources that you might need for your goal setting would be time, money, skills, or discipline. Usually for me, it's not discipline. It's usually one of the other 3.
So usually for me, it's discipline.
Same.
Let's be honest.
And it probably is discipline too. If I really
no, it's never discipline for you. No, it's not.
Thank you.
No, someone that gets up at the butt crack of dawn on a Friday morning to go to high fitness is not that type.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not going anywhere Friday morning.
She one day she's coming to class. So the other ones though are a challenge for all of us. And I would say time, a lot of time is my most difficult thing. And so Shalene had offered, she calls it a push goal. I would love to call it something else. One day I'm going to name it for me. That it's kind of, for her, she has you write 10 goals. For me, I think that's too many, but it's like the 11th goal in her mind. It's the goal that helps you accomplish the other goals. So for me, my very first push goal was something around some household help I needed. And I really didn't have a goal. Like, who has a goal to get a housekeeper, right? You're not like, it might be a goal because you're recognizing that that's a challenge in your life. Some of us have that as a goal. But in this case, it was like all my other goals, I needed more time. I needed less stress. And so I knew that what are the things that are holding me back? It's this anxiety around the fact that there are piles here and here, and I don't have things organized. So at I have a current push goal of hire my organizer. It's been on the list, but now it's on a push goal of mine because I need more time. I need more organization in my space that frees my mental space so that I can accomplish my goals. Right now, I have so much overwhelm and so much happening. And some of that has to do with my environment. So as we talked earlier, environment is actually kind of low on my scale right now. And that has some design aspects, but it also has a lot to do with organization. So one of my push goals is organization so that I can reach some of my other goals one of my goals has to do with more family time. And so I love that. I love that there's a way that we can gain some resources so that we can actually accomplish our goals. That's really that's the Liv way for me. Like, that's the way I've designed it. And that has worked for me to think past the actual goal and kind of dig a little bit deeper to how I can accomplish that goal.
I love that. And I think it's really, I would summarize what I heard in a really simple step, which would be to ask yourself why. When you're clear about your why, then your brain starts helping you instead of fighting you. Mm-hmm. If you're just making lists of how, your brain's job is to keep you safe. And so when you set a really audacious goal, like paying off all the student loan debt for medical school, for most people, they'd be like, hey, we can never get there. But if you if you just focus on how is that going to happen, most people are going to get really overwhelmed. If you get reoriented to the why, anytime you have overwhelm, the trick is to ask again, why? Why do I want that? Why did I set that goal in the first place? And if you do it at the outset, then you're going to have your brain helping you, and your brain will come up with ways because you already identified as that person who is debt-free, or that person who is a fit foxy mama, or that person. So then when you're out of alignment, your brain's like, ooh, she said this is what she wanted. We need to be looking for resources to make this true for her. instead of the other way around. So one way would be list it until you get really, really deep. I hear that that's, kind of how Shalane does it in the push goals. I think it could be simpler just by listing you have your roles and your archetypes. You have your categories of your life. Now you have your subset of your goals. Now you have some daily goals or some daily tasks, but all of that is you have a statement of why you want that. And then your brain will help you.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, that's the one thing that she does share. And I found that to be true, that once I actually just work on my push goal and, Jesi, as you mentioned, your goals are written, they kind of happen a lot more naturally. It's that law of attraction that I personally believe in, that it's not so forced, but I do have to take those action steps. For me, I actually have a push journal and I write down what are the things I'm doing towards, hiring my organizer today. I'm not actually writing down anything to do with my goals, but they more easily happen because I'm writing them down. I'm aware of them. And then I'm working on the thing that's kind of keeping me away from my goals. I love that. Tristen.
I was quiet for a whole 5 minutes.
You what?
I don't have a cookie because I'm dieting.
We are so proud of your goal. We are so proud of your goal setting, Tristen.
I will not speak of it in this podcast, but in a future podcast. But health and wellness goals are really important. I don't have like a certain weight that I have purposefully assigned to myself, because I want to be very holistic about all of the journey of it. But I think that, for another podcast, we'll talk about it. It's just a change of the way we look at food and the changes of all of that. Krista's going to help me fall in love with vegetables all over again, guys. All over again.
Over again.
I don't believe it on its face, but I know that, I'm open to possibly liking vegetables more.
Yeah.
I don't hate them. In fact,
you'll even have names for them. You'll have names for them.
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts and kale. And
as long as you don't talk to me as if I'm a toddler, we're just going to be totally fine.
Tristen,
I'll just put cheese on them, just like everybody else.
But I'm one of those weirdos that actually likes Brussels sprouts. So I shouldn't.
Oh, I don't know what you're complaining about then. You're going to be fine.
But yeah, I'm purposely being quiet because I'm drinking all of this in, trying to figure out how to better set goals.
I thought that you were going to say, because I know Tristen has some water intake goals and I'm very proud of her. I thought she was saying like she's literally not talking a lot. She's like, I got to get my water in.
I have to get and you know what? I take the
water.
I take the fluid ounces seriously, not water ounces, but we did say fluid ounces. And I'm running a mile with that, guys, because you can put anything in.
So let's recap just a little bit. I love that, we really talked about developing the why, and that goes back to that inventory too, right? Really understanding before you set your goals, evaluating those areas of your life. As silly as it sounds, a lot of times I forget a couple of them and I go, oh yeah, I should probably consider, right now I'm actually not currently working on my mission. It's there. And I know it's not the time and place that I have a lot of energy for that. So my score is low, but I'm not really working on it. I have a plan in the back of my head. Like I know how that's going to play, but it's not something that I'm currently fully engaged in. But then we're evaluating. So we're being mindful. Is mission something that I should be thinking about? Next quarter, maybe things will change and it's time to work on my mission. I love that we talked about our learning style, that each of us, this is, live your life by design. This is designing your goal setting. For me, if I was doing my push goal and I wasn't really sure, I'd probably gain some resources by reading a book. Let me think about how this might, or part of my push goal might be figuring out what is my learning style? How am I going to benefit from goal setting? What's the best way to do this for me? And then a routine. I love Jesi that you talked about that. Jesi is so great at consistency and routine, and just creating that daily reminder around it. And what else did I miss?
That Tristen will write every day that she loves vegetables.
I'm going to write it down on my mirror in red lipstick.
And then I remembered the last one, the other R besides routine was resources, gaining the resources that you need to help you accomplish your goals, figuring out what those resources might be. And we didn't really talk about this, but I love the idea of juicing up your goals. Just like we juice up our roles, we can juice up our goals and make them just a little bit more exciting than like, I hate that lose 5 pounds goal, but to juice those up is actually a really great idea.
And if you didn't listen to that podcast, the way that you juice them up is you put adjectives with them. That's it.
Yeah.
Actionable.
So simple.
Right.
Actionable adjectives.
Yeah.
Choice words if you want. Just make sure they're positive. It's not.
That should be, I think it's episode 15, maybe.
Sweet.
And we can do though, we can put a link to those in this show notes as well for those adjectives, because I think juicing up your goals is actually a really great idea.
And I really hope that you mean it when you said it, that we're looking at those the planners that can be customized to suit your Liv lifestyle.
Yes, definitely coming attractions at Liv Lifestyle Co.
Very excited about that.
With Tristen t-shirts.
No.
All right, friends, thank you so much. We wish you luck on your goal setting journey. I will share again that I don't even know that we've really said this, but quarterly is really what we would recommend, that quarterly you're looking at, you're evaluating and you're taking that inventory, and quarterly you're setting those 1, 2, 3 to 5 goals. And really, I think you get a lot of traction with that. So be sure to rate us 5 stars and share with your friends, and we will see y'all next time. Thanks.
Thank you.